All right, let's see what all we can break this time. Can we see the screen? Maybe. So today, OOP. We are going to get a little more advanced than we have been. Hi, Vesta, welcome in. Um, we'll do a real quick recap of the last couple of streams. So we've covered some data types, we've covered strings, we've covered integers, we've covered functions. We started covering some dry programming. You do see your name. You were the last follower. Um, Speaking of which, thank you for the follow. So yeah, we are we are going to move into. I'm doing great. How are you doing? Yeah, we're going to move into object-oriented programming. This is definitely not the beginner topics that we have been covering, but it is something that we need to get into because how to explain this? It makes our programming better. If used properly, object-oriented programming (OOP) can make your program much easier to read, to write, and to use. Um, Especially if we're doing patches. Hi, Oleg, welcome in. Um, you do see Orion, and I am sorry for that. But yeah, we need to cover this, especially with the particular program we're working on. Um, I was thinking about it a little bit off stream, and while I want to keep this beginner friendly, have a great lurk, Vesta. Um, I want to keep it beginner friendly, but I also want this stream to cover topics that aren't necessarily the easiest, but we can cover them in an easy way, a beginner friendly way. And hopefully, by the time this series is done, these concepts will make sense. So let's start with what object oriented programming is. When we're talking about objects, we are creating an easy to read structure of a thing. A lot of people like to use the animal example, if you will. We'll get into it. We'll do that during the example parts. And then we'll start to apply this to our PB&J and the ducks. We'll probably create a duck class. When you hear class, that is the basic of the object. Why does object-oriented programming help us? So we have this concept of an object, right? So let's say we're going to use a duck. All ducks have certain things, right? They all have feathers. They all have legs. They all have wings. Chances are the duck has a name. But let's say we have multiple ducks. If we were to use regular functional, don't be disappointed in Oleg. The newt is great. Um, if we were using purely procedural or functional programming, we would have to create constant variables to make each duck that we wanted to create. The concept of an object allows us to build out a formatted structure. Yes, 100%. It is the best thing that happened for dry programming. But yeah, it allows us to create multiple instances of a duck. So that means instead of writing 3,000 lines of code to create multiple ducks, we write one line of code and we just create this object multiple times. The basis of a class is the attributes of the class, and it also has something called a method. At its highest level, a method is nothing more than a function that applies only to that object. I think that's as deep as we'll go into that without starting to actually build out some of these examples. We are going to create an extra Python file today. And we will name that classes. This is not something you would do in a program that you were programming for some real project. You don't import classes from a classes file, at least not in Python. This is just so we can kind of start to understand what we mean by the attributes and the methods. Let's not start with something related to the PB&J. Let's start with an easy example because I do want to show inheritance. Yeah. So in Python, we define a class by simply typing class. We will go with, I'm going to lean on Nixie for a minute. Should we do animals or should we do the family example? Nixie or roadside, your choice. I agree. I think animals are easier. The only time the family thing gets really easy is to show the inheritance. But yeah, let's do animals. Let's start with that's because you like to do a lot of inheritance, roadside. They do, and once we start, we're going to do animals, and we'll show the inheritance through the animals. Birds are really good. So yeah, let's do. We're going to do this with PEP8. We don't need that. Hence my love of ducks. So let's start with the base class of bird. So what do all birds have? All birds are going to have, I think that's fair to say. Beaks? Okay. Wings, feathers. Yep. They have one beak. Wings. It's two. That's fair. And actually, the hollow bones would be really cool because technically, no, they don't. Penguins don't have hollow bones. We have wings, beak, and feet. So what we have done is we have created a class called bird. We have set up an init function, which is going to be the attributes that each one of these or that each object uses to create itself when we actually call this class. I'm trying to keep to simple terms. I don't want to use the advanced stuff just yet. So let's give this a method. Define we will actually make this an F string because we covered this. Vocalization. Yeah. Yes, F strings for the win. Self dot. We'll just make that a blank. Where do we have a typo? Yes. Maybe it wants to be a bird F. I lied. That's not what we wanted. Means and we'll explain what's happening here in a minute. Yes. Yes, it would right side. And all I'm doing is making this where everything is on screen. I do agree with that. That's going to make it easier to show the inheritance. Get rid of the green lines. All right, so what we have done is created a bird. We have given the bird the ability to describe a bird. Yes, and when we create the duck, we are going to show how we can override that true false with the inheritance. Looking in court. All right, so if we run this, it'll do nothing because we haven't actually told it to do anything. You're good, Nixon. So let's create a bird. We'll call this our bird. And initialize it. We are going to print our word.describe bird. And in a second, we're going to change some things. But for right now, I want to show how this actually works. So what we've done is we created an instance of a bird. We assigned it to our bird. Because of the method describe bird, we're able to call our bird.describe bird. And we get our output. So generally speaking, we wouldn't hard code certain things like our vocalization. I wouldn't hard code that. I would actually put a second parameter in here. And we are going to call this vocal. Yeah, we got to get rid of that. So we're going to have to change some things because we changed that. Now when we instantiate this object, we are going to have to pass in something. For vocal, we're going to put quack quack. And this will actually give us a chance to show what we mean when we say that this is creating different objects. So our bird 2, bird, vocal equals chirp, chirp. And we're going to print both of our birds. And when we run this again, you'll get to see why this makes for dry programming. How are you doing today, Court? So without changing any code here, we were able to create a bird that has 1 beak, 2 wings, a boring placeholder for feather type. It happens. 2 feet, and it can speak quack quack. I have not heard the bird is the word. I'm going to have to make that a sound alert if we're going to keep doing birds. Without creating a whole other set of this, just by passing in a different value here, we also created a bird that has 1 beak, 2 wings, some more boring placeholder text because we got to figure out how to describe what a feather type is, 2 feet, and can speak chirp chirp. So this shows why this is such dry programming. I can change things here in one spot, and it changes every time we create one of these things. So we're going to do some inheritance. Wing should be a string. I think it all depends on what we're trying to describe with the wings. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, as we build these out a little bit further, we'll start doing that. Uh, so this is the beginning of inheritance. So what we're doing is now we're creating a specific type of bird. Uh, yeah, that's fair. Uh, how can I just type? I think we have to have the vocal here. It's been so long since I've had to do any inheritance with Python. All right. So the inheritance concept. By creating a duck that inherits the bird class, we should be able to say our duck uh, unless I've completely broken this, which is completely possible. Yep, I've broken it. What did I do wrong here? I think that goes here. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Yes. All right. So even though we did not define a function within our duck, because it is of class type bird, it inherits the functions. Now we can overwrite those. Uh, there's a lot of other stuff that we can do, but the big thing to understand here is as we create more and more of these classes, so if we were to create a class Blue Jay, which is of type bird, we're going to say that Blue Jays only have one wing. I believe we can do that. Oh boy. Welcome in, Raiders. Mathman, thank you. My sound alerts are not working because my headset has turned off again. How are you doing, Matt? How was your stream? The coding is going. We are covering We're going to turn that down just a little bit. I hope that's not as loud in your ears as it is in mine. A's, but we like OOP. It makes life easier sometimes. But yeah, we're covering. You don't hear anything? Of course you don't, because everything wants to break today. Uh, it's not a stream if it doesn't break, right? I don't know. We'll have to figure that one out off of stream. But yeah, we're covering OOP, and we are breaking everything as we go. We will not be going into polymorphism at all, because there's just that'll take an entire week to explain why it shouldn't be explained the way that it is. All right, so this is a great example of what we mean when we say we can start overwriting things. Because our Blue Jay, it has a super. I mean, that's fair, Ace. It all. I think it all depends on what you're programming. Especially in Python, it's very simple since everything is basically an object anyway. It's very simple to just switch into object oriented. But there's definitely time where straight functional programming can be better. It is especially if we start getting into like the diamond of death, which we'll talk about a little bit, not too much, because I don't want to get super complicated. But yeah, so because we've decided that Blue Jays should only have one wing, we are able to overwrite here. All Blue Jays would have one wing, even though our bird class says it should have two wings, we overwrite that. The function still looks for the instance's wings, so it'll actually print out that it only has one wing because we've told it that's what this instance has. That allows us to do a lot of different things with the class concept that we wouldn't be able to do without it. We should probably do something with that boring placeholder text. But we need to really, I don't want to get too far into describing our bird just yet. When we actually start designing a class that we're going to focus on the design on, it'll probably be our peanut butter and jelly sandwich. All right, I'm going to pause real quick. Any questions on what we're doing so far? So we've covered inheritance. We've covered the concept of a class. We are. Hi Neon, how are you? Yeah, we are technically covering polymorphism. I just don't want to get into the technical descriptions of that, just because that gets very confusing with the terms. All right, so let's step into our actual peanut butter and jelly sandwich concept. We are going to define a class of have a good night. Bread pieces. All right, Nixie, let's talk about attributes for our sandwich. We're going to use a couple more parameters, as you can see, but that's because we're actually going to design this one out. Coffee. I have my coffee. Thank you. Yeah, I'm so just to get that on stream, I am actually going to read that out loud. So polymorphism is inheritance. Essentially, an easy example, another reason I use animals and ducks, is that an animal makes a vocalization, a duck quacks, a dog barks, a cow moos. All animals make the vocalization, each inherit the trait vocalization from animal, but each animal overrides that with their own vocalization. The variable can be overridden by multiple objects. Yes, that is a great description, and I like that a lot better than the way I would have broken that down. That's okay, Ace. We like opening up the cans of worms. We really do. That's the whole point of the stream, right? We want to discuss these things because I want people to understand these concepts and not be scared of the word polymorphism. And again, I'm just going to type for a few minutes and we'll break down what's going on here. We had to add the cutter no for the roadside because he likes to make things complicated. Yes. Crust or no crust? It's almost ready, pizza. We're actually going to make our first sandwich. What would we do if you weren't, though, Road? What would we do if you weren't? So yeah, we're going to create our first sandwich. We're just adding a couple of function methods in. All right. Roadside, talk to me. Do you feel comfortable that we have everything we need to make our first sandwich so that pizza can actually eat this sandwich? We've got how many pieces of bread? We've got the peanut butter type. We've got the jelly jam preserves type. We've got a bread type. We've got cut or not cut. He is very, to be fair, that is his favorite lunch. So, and we're going to talk about whether or not it has crust. We are not going to get into the location of the bread. So we're going to make a program that makes us a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Yeah. And Roadside is very particular about his peanut butter and jelly, so we're making sure that it's up to his standards. Actually, we're going to put that here. Road, don't nerd snipe me with that because I just got 3 new Arduinos in, and that would be a lot of fun. I am interested. Hi, Rob. How are you doing? And we'll explain what we're doing in just a second. We are, and actually, Rob, we are going to actually make us a sandwich this time. We're going to make 2 sandwiches. All right, so this particular part is going to cover letting us know that it is starting to make the sandwich. It is grabbing the bread. It's going to tell us if it is less than 2 pieces, we are going to grab a single piece of whatever bread type bread. We are going to, if it is 2 or more, we are going to get 2 pieces. So we're handling our first possible error. But we are going to get 2 or more pieces of what type of bread. Next, we are going to print going to do to me here. The entire program. Sorry, I know I'm being very quiet, but oh no. Is it a string? No. So we 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 can use booleans within f strings. It'll just well, we'll explain why that's going to be used the way it is. But yes, it is going to be a string, and there's a reason for it. No, no, I am doing a string comparison. I just realized what you were asking. But yes, there is a reason we're going to do that. We're going to take in some user inputs to create this object. So we're expecting the user to answer with a yes or no. And actually, because we're going to do that, we have to do something else. Python is weird. The particular way we're writing this is even weirder. Yes, I know your thoughts. Don't worry, we're gonna do this in C# as well. Later, not today. Later. Yeah, I don't envy anybody who does web dev at all. All right, pizza. If you're here, let's create a peanut butter and jelly sandwich together. All right. I'm gonna let you make the first one because I know you've been waiting. All right, pizza. How many pieces of bread do you want? All right, 2 pieces of bread. Smooth or crunchy peanut butter? Smooth. Do you want preserves, jelly, or jam? Preserves. And what type of preserves do you want? What type? So, do you want a particular fruit used? Strawberry, cherry. Okay. And what kind of bread? Want white bread, honey wheat, Italian. We're going to capitalize that. Crust on or no? Or cut or no? Crust on. Yes. And crust cut or no? Do you want to cut in half? Not cut? All right. And we're actually going to change the name of this variable to pizzas. True. This is the real question. So we are going to make the sandwich, and we are going to serve the sandwich so that pizza can finally get his sandwich that he has been waiting for. So what's going to happen? We're going to create an object. We're going to create a sandwich object. It is going to create it with 2 pieces of bread, smooth peanut butter, cherry preserves, Italian bread. It's not going to be cut, and the crust is going to stay on. We're going to pretty this code up a little bit. Once it goes into making the sandwich, it's going to print out a bunch of steps that it's doing for us. It is going to take into account if the bread piece count is less than 2, so that we get that error handling of piece versus pieces. It's going to get the type of peanut butter. It's going to put it on the bread. It's going to get the type of jelly and whether it's preserves, jelly, or jam. It's going to put that on the bread. It's going to give us instructions if we decided that crust should be off. It's going to give us instructions if we decided it should be cut. For the serving part, it's going to do, it's going to change some things. It's going to change from yes to crust removed or no to crust on. It's going to change from yes to cut or uncut. And then it's going to actually serve us our sandwich. So if we go ahead and run this, let's make sure we're not doing anything crazy. Yep, we should actually get our first sandwich. So it got 2 pieces of Italian bread. It got smooth peanut butter. It put the peanut butter on the bread. It got the cherry preserves, put the cherry preserves on bread. It cut off that it shouldn't have done. Because I'm a silly person. We don't want that. We want this. And we want that here as well. Let's rerun that. So now it did what it was supposed to do because I checked for the wrong logic. Putting peanut butter on bread, we got the cherry preserves, we put it on the bread, then we served it. We served an uncut smooth. We should have put the word peanut butter here and cherry preserves on Italian bread with the crust on. Now, let's make some code edits. And wrong place for which string, Ace? Oh, yep, you're right. Good catch. Make sure we actually did our logic properly this time. All right. Let's let Road create his sandwich too. What am I doing there? All right, Roadside, what you want for your sandwich? Start with how many pieces of bread? 4 slices of bread. PB&J type is smooth. A type is great. Cut diagonally. We're not doing diagonal versus not diagonal right now. It's just getting cut. We can add that in though. We want I promise we will make it. Make this pretty up a little bit. Yeah, fair Ace. That would be something Roadside would do. Okay. Actually, I'm going to do some things here so we can actually watch this happen a little bit better. I lied. I didn't want that. All right, let's go ahead and run it. So now we're going to have to hit enter for it to step through so we can actually watch it. Right now it is making pizzas. Now it is going to make roads. And as we can see, we now have a program that makes sandwiches. It has the ability to make multiple sandwiches. But again, we're having to do some things here. I'm having to ask chat to give me their answers, and then I'm hard coding those answers in, which isn't something we would want to do in the real world. We would probably want to do something more like this. Oh, for sure, Matt. And have a great night. Get some rest. Do your de-streaming. Take care of yourself. And thank you again for the raid. And Roadside, could you give Matt one last shout out before he heads out? Thank you. And again, thank you for the raid, Matt. I appreciate you stopping in. Oh, this large font is killing me. All we're going to do here is make it where the program actually will ask you these questions so that we don't. So technically, your sandwich should be exactly what you asked for. Should be. There are some things that we could do to break it. For example, if you changed the answer yes to crust on, that would technically break it. there's a couple things we could do to break. But technically, if you followed the prompts that we wanted you to put, we could make it. We could, yeah, we can do that. No, Macy, no. Next stream, I promise. Next stream we will do anons. Uh, we could change portion sizes. That would take a little more logic. But yeah, we can definitely do that. Yeah. So that's kind of the fun part of programming. We can kind of make this do anything we want, with some exceptions. It all depends on how good we are at our coding, to be honest. We are doing an explicit check, so we need to do this as an int. With our powers combined. That's right. That is true. That is true. That is why games are so buggy when they first come out. Yeah, yeah, we could actually, without stepping into machine learning, we could actually just do an RNG and give a quality of, this is a 0 star, or this is a 5 star sandwich. That wouldn't be hard to implement at all. I agree, Ace. But no RNG. Why do you, what is the obsession with enums today? Give it a few lists to choose from for options. Yeah, yeah, we could do that. Um, Maybe that would be another stream. We can start looking at how we create menus in Python. They definitely are useful. Um, I agree with that, Nixie. Well, I'm glad you're liking it, Rob. That's kind of why I wanted to go this route. It's something that we all understand. Like, we've all made a sandwich at some point in our life, and this gives the comparison of making a computer do something that we've all experienced. Um, it just kind of shows the concepts of how we would go about actually programming it. And as you can see from the chat, like, they are doing a great job at showing the design complications that happen when building a program. This is why when I see a bug in a game, it doesn't offend me, because I understand how hard it is not to create bugs. It's nearly impossible. You're always going to have a bug in a program. Um, so grid type. J type. And we're actually going to change that. Yeah, for sure, Ace. I agree with that. Like if I see some stuff that's just like your QA just didn't do their job. So that'll be the next step. We're going to use probably Unreal and C Sharp. Uh, yeah, we would want to use something that's designed to render that. That's where the gaming engines like Unreal come into play. But yeah, I mean, technically, we could do it in Python. We could use sprites. We could do a lot of stuff. But one of the things I wanted to show is, these concepts are not specific to Python. This is stuff that we can use other. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, Py games can get pretty. I mean, it's not going to be 3D. That's one thing we really can't do with. Yeah, Blender does use Python. But when I get into that part, I really don't want to. Uh, I want to step into something different because, again, like the whole start of this was to show that the concepts apply across languages. So when we design something, it'd be a lot more fun to kind of show some C sharp, I think. Every time you think nobody would ever be dumb enough to try that, you can guarantee that somebody's going to be dumb enough to try that. Oops, what was I working on? We've got red pieces, we've got that, we've got that, we've got that, that, cut forward node. Excuse me. With the internal exportable both. Uh, what got me into programming and this type of stuff? Oh, yeah, you're good. You're right. So what got me into this was I was a very antisocial teenager, and I had a computer. So I started exploring and realized that I really enjoyed doing these different things. Um, and computers were easier to be friends with than people. Not much has changed on that aspect. Sometimes I still think that it's easier to be friends with computers, but I'm getting better at this. Yeah, still true most days. Uh, I'm trying to learn to be a little more people. Printers do not belong in tech at all. We should get rid of all of them. All right, so let's explain what we've done. That is a good plan, Ace. So what we did, instead of creating a new instance every time, I know we're still doing it every time, but we're trying to make this slowly build out into something a little more dry. Um, we've created a function called user sandwich. Now, instead of typing this every time I want to create a sandwich, I can just type this. Custom maintenance, correct. It's still going to function the same, but in a little bit, we'll make it a little more fun on how this is going to work. But yeah, so if we were to get rid of this code a little bit, and we're going to close this. So now it's going to ask us some questions. Welcome in. All right, first person in chat. How many pieces of bread do we want to do? All right, Rob. 2. 84. Why, roadside? Why would you go with 84? 47. Aye. We're grabbing whole loaves. We forgot a return carriage, and we're going to use wheat. Do we want smooth or crunchy? Crunchy. Sorry, Rob beat you to it this time. Preserves, jelly, or jam? Jelly. And what fruit base? Oh, see. Oleg's trying to show our first issue that we're going to have with an end user, right? What if somebody doesn't want preserves, jelly, or jam, or a fruit base? So we can handle that. Do we want to cut it? Yes. Over here, monster. I like it. We are going to we're going to add some of that in, and we don't want crust removed. All right. So now it's going to actually build our sandwich. It's grabbing 2 pieces of wheat bread. It's getting the crunchy peanut butter. It's putting the peanut butter on the bread. It's grabbing strawberry jelly. It's cutting off the crust. It's cutting the sandwich, which it shouldn't have. I don't think. Maybe we did cut it. I don't remember. And it's just going to go back through and create the second sandwich. I thought we did too. So we got to check what happened there. And we get to step into Nixie's favorite thing. Let's see why it did that. Cut or no equals cut or no. Let's make a sandwich. If cut is yes. I actually don't know why it did that. Would you like the sandwich cut? We said yes to cutting and no to crust removed. So it shouldn't have removed the crust. What did we get back? Cutting off crust, cutting sandwich. Let's see what we changed here. I am not sure why it did that. But let's do something a little bit. We're going to actually figure that out because I don't understand why it did that. Let's cut it. Would you like the crust removed? I know why it did that. Pass. I'm using a pass. This was bad programming. We should not be using a pass. Where's that other pass? Actually, let's fix something that's been bothering me. Or did I forget that? Oh, roadside. Mm-mm. Uh-huh. I know what we're doing wrong here. We asked the wrong question. I like fresh bread crust the best. I like fresh. I think crust is great on bread, but that's just me. Okay. All right. So we have debugged it. So what was happening? We were asking the wrong question on crust. It was doing what we told it to do. Well, what I told it to do. I did it bad. But now we can walk back through it. All right. First one in chat. How many pieces of bread? Nixie says one. Rhode's trying to use the entire grocery store. All right. First one in chat. What type of bread? Stale bread. Sourdough. All right. First one, smooth or crunchy? Smooth. You got one, Rhode. You got one. Preserves, jelly, or jam? Jam? What fruit base? Blackberry. That's a good choice. Are we cutting it? We are cutting it, and no crust. All right, so we're going to grab a piece of sourdough bread. We're going to get smooth peanut butter. We're putting the peanut butter on the bread. We're grabbing blackberry jam. We're cutting off the crust. Well, we put it on. Now we're cutting off the crust. We're cutting the sandwich. And we are going to get back a cut smooth peanut butter and blackberry jam on sourdough bread with the crust removed. Now, since Roadside has been so friendly, we're going to add another attribute to this. And I didn't want to do this. Cut. If it is cut. Roadside, you're making me do some things. I don't want to do nested. Explain to you, Nixie, what I'm doing. I'm letting Roadside get his cut direction finally. Because people do things like I do and forget to actually All the things you're making me do. We are cutting the sandwich. We need to serve the sandwich. Pink. No, no, I wouldn't do that. I want it to. I mean, these are good things to show. So what we're going to do is add in what way we're cutting this sandwich if we cut it. We added in some more if statements. We're also going to. We're going to make the output of the cut direction a little bit easier by, instead of just changing it to cut if it was supposed to be cut, we're going to actually put the direction directly in here. So now, if everything's working properly, when we go back through this, all right, roadside, this one is specifically for you. Let's not use an entire store's worth of bread, but how many pieces of bread would you like? Hi, Danny. Roadside. It's always meant with love. Mr. Roadside. How many? I'm going to ask Danny if you don't come back. All right, Nixie says 4. We're going with Nixie's. What type of bread are we going to use? It is a hard question. Danny, would you like to pick what type of bread this time? Irish soda bread. Okay. Do we want smooth or crunchy peanut butter? Pumpernickel. All right, we'll build another one. Crunchy. Hydrate. We're going to hydrate with some coffee because I didn't bring any water. No, we're not dropping any tables. There is no database implementation, Ace. Do we want preserves? Jam? I saw jam. And what fruit base? Strawberry. Do we want to cut it? We want to cut it, right? We're going to cut it this time. But then all that coding I just did is useless. We're cutting it. We're going to cut it diagonally. And, right, Ace, welcome to the, all that I just did and nobody has ever used it. Let's keep the crust on since roadside is not talking. And we broke some things because we didn't put something into place. Oh, yeah, completely forgot to do this part. Can we do that? We got to do something a little bit different. All right. That is what happens when we rush. Everybody said crunchy, so we're keeping with crunchy. What do we want to do? Jam, preserves, jelly. You want to go with strawberry again? Okay. We are going to cut it because I want to make sure I didn't break it again. Would we like the crust on? Oh, that's okay. We broke what I was doing for you anyway. So we're grabbing 2 pieces of pumpernickel bread, getting crunchy peanut butter. I hate checkboxes too. Checkboxes are terrible. Putting peanut butter on bread, getting strawberry jam. We are cutting the sandwich diagonally. And we now have a diagonally cut crunchy peanut butter and strawberry jam on pumpernickel bread with the crust on. Why are we upset, Roadside? The crust. Okay. All right. That's fair. That's fair. Well, here's the beauty of it. Let's run it again. All right, Roadside. I'm going to let you build this one out as long as you use a logical amount of bread. 96 pieces is not logical. What type of bread do you want? White? Smooth or crunchy? Smooth. Preserves, jelly, or jam? Fruit base? Strawberry. Do you want to cut? We would have to handle that as an error. And welcome in. He does, or they do. How are you doing, Kate? And thank you for the follow. But yeah, so we now have a program that is creating a sandwich. I do believe we are at a good stopping point. because now we have to figure out how we're going to implement our duck. So I have to think about that. And per, is it Noli, or should I just call you FactBot? We have some visitors. Another good reason for us to be at a stopping point. For anybody who would like to meet them, our patch. This is Sour Patch. You guys have probably heard her in the background a couple of times, but now that they are here,
Not here.
that is true. That is true, Ollie. We could. And then we have Mr. Danny. Here.
Are you talking to us?
I am talking to people.
Who
You
is
are making it difficult. So these are the two little demons that keep me busy. You guys want to wave hi? All right. Yeah, you guys go run to Mama real quick. But on that note, I am going to go ahead and cut stream so I can get little ones ready for bed. Thank you, Rob. Don't let him. That is fair, Nolly. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and raid out to somebody. Let me see who's online. And
He's streaming on the interwebs.
let's see. Streaming. We'll bring this over here where I can actually see it. Yeah, let's go visit our buddy the Phoenix today. And thank you for the follow on. So the VODs are present, and we will be streaming this series for a little bit longer. We give you some things. After today, these will be uploaded to YouTube. But yeah, and if you want, you can join the Discord. I know everybody needs another Discord server to join, but this will give you go live notifications. And yeah, so Roadside, could you do me a favor and start a raid out to Phoenix Start? And once again, I want to say thank you to everybody for being here, for hanging out, for helping us build some sandwiches. And we will definitely do this again soon. And the next go around, we will build in some more logic, build in some error handling so that we can handle when somebody wants negative sandwich or negative pieces of bread. But for now, everybody have a wonderful rest of the day, rest of the evening, or morning, wherever you are. And thank you again for coming on, and we'll see you next go around.